right, what's up, guys? Got Adrian here, Beekeeper. We're just going to kind of dive right into it and see what the life of a recreational beekeeper is like. So Kinley told me a little bit about your queen issue.
Yeah.
Sounds like, what's going on with that?
So we unfortunately found out the hard way that our queen was missing.
Yeah.
And so essentially what had happened is during the late parts of spring, bees, to show a good hive, bees will essentially swarm. Mm-hmm. And that's generally what you see in the trees where most people are calling saying, hey, we have a bunch of bees in our tree. Well, they do that because the hive splits. The hive will split. There's enough bees to keep the current hive going. Therefore, a queen will leave with a bunch of bees, generally in a tree, a mailbox, whatever it may be, and multiply their population.
Yeah.
And so our bees had done that. Well, if you don't get in there quick enough, sometimes there will be an extra, what we call a queen cell, that will be missed either by the new queen and or the old queen or the bees, and they will swarm again. And so what happened is that we had a second swarm that left the hive, and it left the current hive queenless.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was
So
intense.
then, are they just in shambles at that point?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because the queen is essentially what establishes every hierarchy, everything about the hive.
Yeah.
And when you don't have a queen, they don't know what to do.
So it's just chaos.
It's absolute chaos, and they get super aggressive.
Yeah.
I think the night that it happened, even with my bee suit on, I was stung 4 times.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. I was like, this is not. And they literally, it was crazy. Like, they held us hostage on our property. Like, they were in our windows, like, looking in, like, hey, where are you guys at? Come on out,
I see. I've heard that they're a lot smarter than we would think. Like, they communicate in kind of an odd way.
Yeah, so they communicate either with pheromones, so scent. They communicate with body language. So there's a bunch of different ways that they will communicate, and that's one way you can tell too if your hive is queenless. Yeah. Generally, you'll look in there, and they're super calm. Mm-hmm. Okay, but then when they're queenless, you look in there, and it's just like chaos, and they'll actually like jump off the frames to come at you. And
yeah, they just think they're under attack.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, you have the fact that there's 50 plus pounds of honey in there that they're trying to protect.
Yeah,
it gets but we were able to get it resolved.
Yeah.
We have.
So how do you do that?
So there is a company in Monticello called Weesbees, and they've been a fantastic mentor to us. Obviously, we're a customer of theirs, but they're most beekeepers are pretty easygoing as far as sharing information, because we all know the end result is to get as many bees out there as possible.
Yeah.
And he actually raises what we call Indiana queens, which is specific to Indiana, but it's a really cool breed that was helped with Purdue, and he breeds them and had basically one for sale that we were able to go purchase, bring back. You insert into a hive a certain way, and then immediately either the hive will accept her, which is great.
Yeah.
B, you can usually tell because there's a little box with a screen, and they'll try to sting her through the screen, but they accepted her right away. They started feeding her, and then we went in 3 days later and noticed that she was out of they eat through the bottom part of the cage, and noticed that she wasn't in there anymore. So then we went looking, and I found her free and clear, just wandering around, which is great.
Yeah.
Because
that's awesome. So if they get out, did they run then, or did they know to kind of stay in that there's their home? And
they will stay.
Yeah.
And they do that because, one, the population of the bees, and two, they have what we call comb, or what you'll see, the hexagonal pieces that it just makes it easier for her to want to lay there.
Yeah.
She's already considered mated.
Yeah.
So that she can start laying eggs literally day one.
Dang.
Yeah.
So then that just grows the population.
Yeah, grows the population, allows it to continue.
Yeah.
Because if there wasn't a queen in there, bees will only live for so long.
Yeah.
Usually I want to say it's like 20, 30, 40 days.
Wow.
And then if there's no more eggs to replenish the population, hive collapse.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there a process that a queen bee has to go through? Or is she born queen bee?
So they initially start as just an egg, okay? But what will happen is the hive will recognize either A, the queen is weak, the queen doesn't lay very well, or they're going to swarm. So what they do is they make what's called a queen cell from one of the eggs that the previous queen lays.
Right.
And then what they do is the nurse bees and other bees will feed a queen jelly, which is a very high potent form of, and I want to say a combination between honey, pollen, what have you, nectar, that they feed, and then that will essentially turn her into the queen.
Nice.
Yeah, and then you'll see like it's a really cool, like most of your brood is what they call it, like their egg cells are normal size. This one's like huge.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
So then when you see those, you know something's going on in your hive.
Yeah, definitely. So then you're extracting honey from the hive.
Yes.
How much do you get? And is it in seasons that you have to take?
Yes. Yeah, so there's a couple different seasons, and it follows the nectar flow. So essentially when you look outside and you start to see flowers either, from the locust trees, you start to see dandelions, clover. When you start to see those, then you know, okay, we're getting into the prime season.
Wow.
And then you'll add your specific honey supers to it.
Yeah.
This year, because like I said, we've run into some swarming issues, we're up to about 55 pounds right now.
Wow.
I've got a friend of mine who just hit 300 pounds. Yeah, but we're kind of working with 2 hives.
Yeah.
And we're going to extract some more honey this weekend and hopefully get 50 to 70 pounds.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and you want to get the honey out of there too, because what will happen is that they'll fill it full of honey, and they'll try to keep it. And then what happens is they run out of room to lay. So if she runs out of room to lay, she swarms again. They leave.
Yeah.
So you'll get a spring/early summer honey, and then you'll get a fall honey as well that you can extract.
Yeah, and then are there any, I feel like there's some health benefits from honey, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we really advocate for local honey because people with allergies really struggle with pollen when the pollen count's high. Well, that's the same pollen these bees are bringing in.
Yeah.
And feeding and so therefore by eating the honey that's local, you're also eating the pollen that's local, which gives your body the ability to build up, whatever it needs to counteract the allergies.
The immunity from wow, that's really interesting.
Yep, yeah.
That, and then with the fact that you can tell that you've got honey when other things in the area are doing, that's just so crazy how everything's connected, isn't it?
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And then the bees are just kind of they're like a little tool, a little vehicle for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's why they're obviously very important for the environment.
Widely important because there are other pollinators out there, your hummingbirds, bumblebees, but we've got 4 hives on our property now in an area, and that could be 500,000 bees. And it's not until the older bees that go out and forage, but a lot of these local plants need to be pollinated by insects and mostly the honeybees.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. So then do you do anything to, let's say if there's an area that maybe is low on bees or something, do you do anything to help them out?
We do not, just because we're in the early stages.
Right.
But one thing that's really cool, I know a lot of Indiana beekeepers, some of the larger ones, will actually send their bees to California.
Yeah.
So they'll load up all of their bees onto a semi-trailer, open trailer, and they'll ship them across to help, I believe, with the almond. Almond plantations. Yeah.
And they'll have a ton over there.
Yeah. So they'll send thousands of boxes of bees, and then they'll go over there and they'll get all the nectar, everything, build up their hives, and then once they're pollinated, then they bring the bees back to Indiana.
Yeah.
And
That's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So they're just doing their jobs, and I would imagine it's probably an investment at that point.
Yes.
The queen bee and everything.
Oh yeah, there's a pretty significant investment that goes into raising bees, but you kind of have to take into that consideration that we're doing more than just for profit.
Right.
Especially at a smaller scale like myself.
Yeah.
It's really there to help nature.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a little bit of sweetness that goes along with it as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you go to festivals or anything?
Because we're only in our first year, we haven't really ventured out much.
Yeah.
But I do know there are quite a few bee clubs out there that really get involved with the state fair.
Yeah.
They've got a real nice booth, I think, for Indiana Central Beekeepers. There's a booth they usually put up, and I know Purdue does some classes and such.
Yeah.
But, of course, most of your local fairs, what have you, you'll always see somebody there promoting and selling. Or your farmers markets. Yeah.
That's really cool, though. And then just being able to contribute to the environment is really awesome.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like instead of just bitching about it, you actually doing for something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's insane. I know there's a lot of programs out there, and I, don't quote me on this, but the farmer that we butt up against their property, they put a lot of their land in what's called CRP, where it is a program that's set up to where they don't actually have crop on it, but it's designed for basically they can plant wildflowers on it, which will help the the bee population.
Yeah.
They can plant other items on it that hopefully will attract birds, etc. to that area versus actually just using it for farming purposes. So it's
Yeah.
kind of nice because we didn't team up to do this.
Right.
But it is kind of
Working out
convenient
that
that
way.
it's
Yeah.
working out.
That's cool.
But, yeah.
I remember in school they told us that the bee population was like declining.
Yes.
That we may run out of bees. Is that so?
I don't know if we'll ever run out of bees. I mean, if we continue on the path that we're at, we need to, more people like myself that have the ability to do it need to do it.
Yeah.
I hope we don't ever run out. Is it always a possibility? Yes. But, we are always encroaching on, the areas where they thrive the most.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to help them out because they are susceptible to disease. They are susceptible to the elements. And, that's just kind of our part to help.
Right. So then is there any threat with like the global warming thing that
I
don't know?
Not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I could always assume yes.
Right. I guess it's the problem.
But, yeah.
So then what other animals do you have? outside
So
of bees?
we actually do a lot with poultry and waterfowl. So we raise chickens, ducks, turkeys, guinea, and then also we have our 3 little pigs as well.
Nice.
That we like to try to keep as much on our property that we can eat from our property. And the biggest thing is we have 2 kids, and to really get them introduced to, there's life outside the grocery store.
Definitely.
That if push comes to shove, we have the opportunity if, the craziness happens,
Right.
we can, be somewhat self-sufficient.
Yeah. I have this idea, it's kind of, I don't know how possible it would be, but I would like to set up a program where everybody grows something or like has some sort of produce or food to contribute, and then it's like an online farmer's market.
Okay.
And people are always trading, and it wouldn't be for profit, it would be just kind of a goofy little thing to connect the community. But in my thinking is if something does hit the fan, then there's kind of that sustainability and the foundation's already set.
Yeah, that would be awesome. A lot of us homesteaders, we do kind of work that way. We trade livestock, we trade services. I've got a friend who is also my bee mentor as well, that lives down the street from us, and he was able to secure some extra feed for our animals at no cost to him.
Yeah.
And so we were able to give him some bees that since he already has, and so we kind of work along those lines. He's got a full-size garden, we have a small garden, but I know that not everybody is fortunate enough to have an acre plus a property, which is fine. I mean, there's only so much land out there.
Yeah.
But to help educate, to where we can not be so reliant on if there's a shortage, that we can take action on the shortage versus having to rely on somebody else.
Yeah, and I mean we're getting to a point where it's kind of we could be running into some shortages.
Yeah, it's already out there.
Yeah, we're seeing shortages of baby food and stuff like that. So price keeps going up. It's gonna almost be more affordable to just grow your own stuff. And do stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and and it's there's animals out there that you gotta think. I mean, baby formula hasn't always been around. Mm-hmm. So what did they do before?
Right. Yeah.
How can we do it again?
Yeah.
Where, I know goat milk is a very good source of milk that we can supplement for different things, not necessarily formula, but
right.
In certain aspects.
Yeah, and I think it's good to have people like you that are doing it because there's going to come a time where we're not going to know how to do that stuff. Like the people that did it are gone.
Yeah.
Or going to be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then without having a chance to Google something.
That's the biggest thing is that we've been fortunate to where we can, Google a lot of the different things of even beekeeping or raising chickens and doing that. Before that people would read books.
Yeah.
And before that it was
just trial and error.
Yeah, and it was passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah.
You grow up in the house and you're 4 years old and you're out there, calling a chicken. And because that's what you got to do to eat.
Yeah, and chickens are super just like self-sustaining.
Yes.
That's a very good way to do that.
Yeah, the chickens, they are.
Yeah.
The cool thing is they can obviously reproduce on their own.
Right.
You don't really have to have anything there to help them. They can lay, they can sit, they can hatch chicks.
Yeah.
They're pretty, if you get the right breed, they're pretty resilient in the elements as well.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you have problems with people, or not people, but other animals like coyotes or anything?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We have, our biggest issue is fox.
Yeah?
Yeah, red fox, and the occasional raccoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a dog that chases them off and all?
No, we actually have a bloodhound. So yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Got like the farm. Right?
Yeah. She don't. If somebody gets lost, she can track, but she won't proactively go after. But we try our best to put the animals in a situation that they have the best case of survival.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't. We've got bald eagles. You can't protect against everything.
Right. Right.
But if you. And it was funny because I had the conversation with the DNR. We had a trail cam of a bobcat.
Yeah.
And they're still protected in our area. And they were like, hey, just
mess
fortify your coop more.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, fair enough. So we've got, 8-foot fence and what have you, kind of.
Big cat proof. That's
Yeah.
what they told you to do.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But we let them, usually in the afternoon, we let them range. They do free range. They get grass. They get anything and everything they want. And unfortunately, it does happen.
Yeah.
Animals have been doing it for how long?
Yeah. Right.
All we can do is protect and
Survival
hopefully.
of the fittest.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, that's cool to be able to have just that barter system that you were talking about with your what was it, the feed and then the bees.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was really cool. Do bees get territorial? Like if
They can.
if there's another swarm that just happens to be flying by?
Not so much. Well, not so much honeybee on honeybee.
Yeah.
There are other bees out there or of that classification that will. So yellow jackets are big. They call them robbers. They'll come in and they will literally, because a honeybee, only the female bees sting.
Yeah.
And
did not know that.
other than the queen, if a bee stings you, it dies. It can't survive. But your other ones like hornets and such, they can continue to sting. So they'll go in there. They want the honey. They smell it.
Yeah.
They know it's there. So they'll go in there and they will. If enough of them go in, they'll go in and rob all the resources.
Wow.
From the bees. Yeah. So.
Did you have a scare or get nervous with the murder hornets?
I did not.
Yeah.
There are still some European hornets out there that are pretty good size. That I haven't seen any of them, but I've heard people.
I saw videos, man. They come in and they just get at. But it is cool the defense. I don't know if you know the defense mechanism when a bee. Apparently, they'll all bat their wings really hard at it and like heat it up. Or something.
So back to the queen. Yeah. So what they'll do is if there's a foreign queen that's introduced to the hive, what they do is they'll ball it. So they will put enough bees around it and then flap their wings to make it as hot as possible and literally.
Just cook it.
Cook it to death, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy.
That's what I was hoping I wasn't seeing when I went in there, because, that would have been terrible.
No kidding. If you don't mind me asking, what's the investment you make in a queen bee?
Usually queens are about $50 a piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you gotta think, $50 for a bee that's, that big.
Right.
But, that's $50 or your entire colony's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And all your honey.
Yeah.
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 So how big do those usually get? Like a massive scale operation? What does that look like?
As far as like total bees or hives
Total hives, probably.
I mean, there's places out there. I know there's a really big one in Newcastle, Bastion Bees, and I want to say they run at like 1,000+ hives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty good size.
And then they're just producing honey.
Mm-hmm. A lot of them will produce honey for commercial. A lot of them will sell bees.
Yeah.
They can what we call split. They can split the hives and then sell those to everybody and try to help the population. But
so then that's like their responsibility then to help the population wise.
Yes.
Like that's going to be the big operations.
Mm-hmm. Big operation just because it's sheer size.
Right.
And they have way more materials than what I can secure. To have, store, use. Yeah. Because it does. Each hive is quite. The investment's quite high.
Yeah. So, do you think it'll ever come a point where, like, if you have a hive or you have something that is just natural, that they'll say, well, we're not going to come and kill it, or do they already do that? Or?
So, there's a bunch of Facebook groups that you can get on that if you do have a hive, or excuse me, a swarm, that instead of calling your local exterminator, you can post it on Facebook to these bee groups, and most of the time a beekeeper will come and get the swarm. More so, yes, to protect the lives of the bees, but two, I mean, to sit there to find a swarm in the wild and not have to pay $150 for a pack of bees, and those swarms are ready to go. I mean, they're ready. That's their hope. When they get into their location of where they need to be, they start making honeycomb. They start making all of the above. They're geared up because that's the whole. They know if they don't make it, they ain't gonna survive.
Yeah.
So those are as a beekeeper, those are the ones you want.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can call a local exterminator. I like and hope that most of them have, people they can call and say, hey, before we do anything with the bees, do you want to come get them?
Yeah.
And I know there's people out there that, a buddy of mine at work, their friends of theirs are looking to build a house. Well, there was a hive or a colony that was in a tree that they needed to tear down. So he went over there, cut the tree up, and was able to get the bees out of the tree. Good. So,
Good. It just seems silly to be killing them whenever.
Oh, absolutely. But that's the convenient thing. If your whole project's being held up because of a swarm, you left, right, and spray them with water type thing, and but people. And it's as silly as it sounds, the Bee Movie, it's true that if the bees stop, nothing gets pollinated.
Right.
And if it does, it's such a small scale that it's not enough for everything to reproduce as far as plants.
Yeah, and then that just limits our oxygen. That kills
us. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So do they get domesticated? Like, you said, like, if you have a wild bee, do they? You can.
No, they're just so focused on the goal at hand to get the queen to lay. They need an area for her to lay, and they'll only lay in, you got on the panels on. They'll only lay in that comb. And so it's the worker bee's responsibility to get where they need to go and start building that comb. Because otherwise, like I said, in 30, 40 days, that colony doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
And then how long can they last if they're able to successfully do that?
Oh, they can go for several years.
Really?
Yeah, because they can if they're in a good area to where the elements won't get to them, they can that hive can essentially reproduce for years.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, I'm not like a don't kill animals nut, but I do think that if an animal has a chance to live that
absolutely,
long, you should definitely not
give it every opportunity. Yeah, every opportunity to let it.
A fly that's going to last a couple minutes is a lot different. Some things can last 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get in its way.
And to serve that much of a purpose.
Yeah.
Is really, how important that purpose is, before you step on a spider or, kill a fly, like, what is their purpose? Why are they there?
Yeah.
And.
Yeah, because the Earth's been spinning a long time, so anything that's here probably is here for a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, what's the goal 10 years down the road, 20 years, 30 years, if we don't have these particular, especially on the insects, at such a small level, they've been here for millions of years.
Yeah. Definitely. So, and I would imagine the environment is probably it's probably evolved around the insects a little bit. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
Obviously.
Definitely.
Pollen,
And then we step in.
Right.
And build buildings and then get mad when, hey, look, there's that there.
You're right.
Yeah.
Do you feel at all that that the way bees get together and have their nests and say like a beaver or build a dam, do you feel like cities could be considered nests? Like if an alien were to fly over and they'd say, okay, the bees, this is what they do. This animal, this is what they do. Humans, this is what they do. Obviously, they're the most destructive, but do you feel like it could be like when you see a big city like that's just a nest of humans? Like that's natural for us to do that?
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes people look at humans as not animals. Like at the end of the day, we're just
mammals. I mean, we're a species.
Right.
I mean,
Right. That always is just weird to me. How to try and think about like what an alien would think of humans.
Because I would think they just look at us as another critter roaming around.
Yeah. That's probably why we've not met them yet. They probably just come out and be like, oh,
it ain't worth it to come here.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
Definitely.
Seen too many movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we always win.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So-
We may lose half the population in cities, but hey, at least we win, right?
Maybe that's why they haven't come. They're like,
Yeah.
"You."
I'm gonna go hang out with the bees.
Yeah.
I'll put my bee suit on, look like an alien, you know.
Yeah.
But
Do you think that, let's say worst case scenario, the insects do go out because of the environment or whatever? Do you think that there would be a possibility to make little drone bees that just are programmed?
you know, it's definitely possible. You know, I'm sure they're probably working on it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
because hopefully they're thinking, what ifs? You
Yeah.
know, hopefully there's, Purdue right down the street. You know,
Yeah.
what if there isn't any bees? What do we do? How can we get these plants? Do we genetically engineer plants at that point to where they can self-pollinate?
Yeah, what the hell?
You know, you look at corn in the fields, the tassels,
Yeah.
they cross-pollinate.
'Cause they-
You know, but if there's no wind, what do? Turn a fan on? You know, so I'm sure there's always worst-case scenarios out there.
Yeah.
But, if we could, get it set up to where our kids, grandkids, et cetera, several generations are fine, then we can only hope technology will help us.
Yeah, right. That or we can get to space.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
the only other option that I see. But there's no way of having that happen without, passing it down like
Yeah.
you're doing. So
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah, I can't say that my 10-year-old's going to be too excited to
Really?
take care of bees. He's not a big fan.
Well, at that age, if anything's pushed on you, you're not going to be a fan.
Yeah, like I said, we had that aggressive hive, and
Yeah.
it's near where our chickens are, and he shows some of his ducks for
Yeah.
4-H, and every time he go down there, he get what we call investigated by a bee, and
Yeah.
he said, enough's enough, I'm not going down there anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll get it fixed.
I've been told to just leave them alone. Like,
Yeah.
you just act like they're not there. They don't want to sting you. They just,
Correct.
Yeah.
So generally, if you have one bee around you, it's usually a forager. It's looking for something, and bees, your sweat, bees are naturally attracted to it. So that's why they're always going towards your
Yeah.
face. The other kicker, if you have multiple bees that are coming around you, then you at that point probably need to slowly walk away because
Yeah.
you're encroaching on their territory.
Ah.
So yeah,
Dang.
yeah.
And then, like killer bees, if you get stung by one, then is it true they just swarm you?
That's all honeybees.
Oh.
But it just depends on the level of aggressiveness.
Yeah.
For example, that queenless hive was extremely aggressive, and when I was working through the hives, I literally, have had, through the gloves that I was wearing, I could sit there and look and see, like the stingers sticking out of the gloves because they were that aggressive.
Yeah.
But killer bees or African bees, their genetics are a little different to where they, as what I would call, they're aggressive all the time. That's the issue you run into, and a good beekeeper / a good program, like I said, Wheeze Bees in Monticello, they breed their queens based off of obviously multiple different things, and one of those is the temperament, because the queen sets the temperament of the hive. So now that we have that queen in there, things have gotten a lot better, to say the least, because they have a purpose, and she calms them down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Like with the having a purpose, it makes me wonder if that's just genetically in all.
It is.
all-
Well, especially animals. Yeah. Do we have higher ability? Yes, but all animals are put on this earth to do for a reason, and
Right.
it's survive or die.
Yeah.
And when you're born, animals, they have cats, they're bred to hunt. That's because if they don't hunt, they die.
Right.
So
Yeah. So when they can't do anything like that, or they're in an unnatural.
Freaking out.
Yeah. They definitely freak out.
Yeah.
And bees, by the sounds of it, you definitely don't want
yeah, freaking out with little swords.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it is crazy. Like when I was checking the hive the other day, I got stung twice on my finger, but it was only because it was in my glove, and I picked up the box and pushed between the box. I pushed it through. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, come on, really?
Yeah.
But.
So that was just like a unneeded death.
Yeah,
basically.
but the hope is that you get stung enough times. I know you don't want to, but your body will build up to fight the venoms. And I know there are places out there that actually use bee stings for arthritis.
Really?
They'll actually take bees and sting. I don't know how humane that is because
Right.
it is
Killing
you are killing a bee.
Right.
But they'll actually sting their joints,
Wow.
and it will give them pain relief.
Wow. So there's
Yeah.
like a medication.
I don't know how you call it, like I'm sure you're not going to find it in a
book
somewhere, but there are places that will do it as part of, I don't know, whatever they call alternative medicine or. Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. We're all here to serve each other. It seems like, yeah. And I wonder if way back in the day, if we kind of worked together with bees on stuff like that. Like, do you know when beekeeping?
I don't know exactly when it started, but I mean, obviously it took somebody finding a hive or a colony and then going, grabbing it and then licking their fingers and going, wow, this is really good. What is this? It probably went all the way back to, cavemen or whatever, the beginning of humans, that they probably found it and was like, oh, hey. And then this stuff in here is amazing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, at that point, it starts from how do we keep them, how do we keep coming back to that one?
Yeah, that's
so
crazy. It's crazy that something that they make like that tastes good.
Yeah.
It's
insane.
And it's good for you too. It helps your immune system and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. It's almost like God wants us to take it.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't think of any other insect or animal out there that does more for humans than the bee.
Yeah, and that's crazy. You would think with that we would take care of them a little bit better.
You would think, but it's knowledge.
Yeah.
It's it's finding out, like I said, with any insect, what is their true purpose. None of us like to have a fly buzz around our face, but they serve a huge purpose. Cockroaches. I don't want a bunch of them. I don't want any of them in my house, but they've been around for millions of years.
They do something.
That is important to.
Yeah, I think it's more important to think like that, and I think the attachment to technology pushes us away from thinking like that. It's just get it.
But it should make it easier. If you're curious.
Yeah.
That's the thing too. Are you? Watching TikTok's fun, but you look down at a bee and you go, huh, weird, and then you do some research on it. It's like, wow.
For sure.
Just even 2 minutes worth of reading, you can find out how important they are.
Yeah, and how interesting they are.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they're just some little gnat or something. They can do something.
They are out there for a purpose.
Yeah, and it's cool. I try to think about them being they're like in their own little world, doing their own little job. The Bee Movie was a really good representation of that. Like,
it was extreme, but it was.
But are there positions like that?
Oh yeah.
Like there's people that will stay. They're not people, Jesus. But there's bees that'll stay in the hive, and then there's bees that go out.
Yeah, so they each bee, male or female. So the males are called drones. Mm-hmm. Okay, the male's purpose is to specifically mate with the queen.
Yeah,
that's it.
Dang.
And eat all the honey.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't really serve any other purpose. And come fall, winter, all the drones will die. All the females push them out of the hive, and then next season they'll make more drones. But a lot of the younger bees, it's kind of cool. They go through a process of roles. As the younger bees, their purpose is to get and cap the larva and the eggs from the queen, and then they are designed to feed the young bees. The larva. And then they just, as they get older, then they, turn into foragers. Yeah. Then those are the ones that leave the hive, come back. There's even, bees that are set to clean.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, it's insane.
And is there anything with, I've heard that there's a thing like with confidence or something in the bees, like if they are celebrated more by the bees that are in the hive, then they go out and they do more pollinating or something. Do you have any idea?
That one I don't know. Yeah. I've not seen that, but
that might be a bee movie.
That could be they had a couple sergeants in there that were directing the foragers, and but they do. There is very specific roles within the hive, and it's pretty cool to see them work.
Yeah, I bet that is really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any more questions that I can think of. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about?
No, I mean, if anybody's got questions, please reach out, to a local bee group. There's businesses out there that do it. We do it for fun. Yeah. Do we sell our honey? Absolutely. I try to recover as much as my cost as possible.
For sure.
I mean, there's places out there that'd be happy to show you to go. They have classes. They can show you how to extract the honey. Yeah. They can show you what to look for on a frame. Tons of people out there to help.
Is there what's the smallest scale that you can do beekeeping? Is it because I've seen TikTok, and mentioning TikTok earlier, that there was something there was in their window, there was like a little tiny hive. Have you ever seen anything?
Yeah, they've got all sorts of different hives. They've got ones that you can see through.
Yeah.
But not necessarily the best for wintertime. You want to make sure they're insulated. You want to make sure they have enough resources to get through winter.
Yeah.
I do know there's hives out there, they call them flow hives, that the bees do their thing. You literally turn a knob and all the honey comes out. There's not much that go into it. There's, not to get too technical, but you can run what we call a single hive, which is just a single box, and then you can put your honey on top of it. But you can go with one hive and be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Most people go with multiple just in case something happens to one.
Yeah.
You can always split
And
to another
grow
one.
another one.
Yep.
Yeah, that
Without having to fully invest in either another package of bees
Yeah.
or another what we call a nuke. And you see, a nuke was basically where somebody else raises them in a small 5-frame box, and then you bring them back and you put them in your stuff. So, yeah.
Nice. How much I guess it's probably a question for the beginning, but how much maintenance goes into it?
There's actually quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's essentially weekly.
Yeah.
Weekly, you want to get into your hives and do inspections. You're looking for hive beetles, which they have foreign items that can come into the hive, and they'll actually bury into the larva and feed on the larva before they're even born.
Yeah.
We have veromites that will essentially attach to the bees. You want to make sure that there's none of those on there.
Yeah.
You want to go through, and of course, beginning of swarm season, you want to make sure to see if your hive's about ready to swarm.
Yeah.
Look to see if there's any wax moth larva that's in there. So you're looking for very specific things each week.
Yeah.
So at least I would say, like I said, we've got 4 hives. It usually takes us an hour and a half to 2 hours a weekend to go through and check. And then if we're extracting, then it's usually like 3 to 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
And have you ever had anything grow or anything get in there?
No, we actually do a pretty good job of where they're placed. So ours gets a lot of sun during the day, with a little bit of shade in the evening, and because of that, those the mites and stuff, they don't like that area. But we also have chickens. Chickens do a great job of cleaning the small things we don't see.
Wow.
And so they'll go through and they'll go in front of the hives and they'll peck who knows what.
Yeah, that's incredible. Dude.
Yeah.
And then just to think like that, it's so complex, the ecosystem of how everything helps everything.
Yep.
Do you think the chickens know that what they're doing? Or you
No,
think
they
they're
just want to
walking
eat.
around?
Yeah, they just want to eat.
Yeah, that's funny.
Call them land piranhas.
Yeah.
They're like little dinosaurs that they will literally eat anything.
Are they dumb too?
I like to say they are, but they are pretty intelligent.
Yeah.
I mean, they know where their food is. They know where to go every night because we can leave our door open, and if we come back, if we're going out to eat or something, and coming back and it's dark, they go right back to their spot.
Yeah.
So they will only eat what they want to eat.
Yeah.
So if it's something they don't like, they don't eat it. If it don't taste good, they don't eat it.
Wow.
Yeah, but some of their actions can be perceived as dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they mean? Do they fight with each other?
They do.
And then, And then what about with the ducks? Do they fight with the ducks at all?
No, we try to keep them separated just to prevent anything from happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, the roosters a territorial thing.
Yeah.
It's a literally pecking order type thing, and so we try to keep a rooster count down so that we don't have a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
On the duck side, we let them range with each other, but the ducks go do their things, the chickens go do theirs.
Right.
But if they were raised together, then potentially. But we let our turkeys graze and raise with the chickens, and generally we don't have any issues with them.
Yeah.
But it's just watching and making sure.
Do you go to the grocery store at all?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. We buy chicken at the grocery store because it's too expensive to raise your own.
Yeah.
It takes way too much time.
Yeah.
But we're getting breads and that kind of stuff. But most of the meats usually comes from our freezer.
That's cool.
And of course we try to buy from local farms as well. We've got a couple of friends that raise cattle, raise lamb that we can purchase from them.
Nice.
Yeah.
I recently had elk. That was really good.
Oh, elk is very good. Yeah. Lean but good. Yeah.
Yes. Very
Yeah.
good. Do you do any hunting?
I do not.
Yeah.
Not because I don't want to. It's just
You're busy doing other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I have most of it here right now. Do we have deer that we can literally pretty much reach out and pet on our property? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's one of those where it's like, once again, I have to find a place to store it.
Yeah.
And it's not that I feel bad for the animal. I mean, I'd rather keep the population down so we're not hitting them with our cars.
Definitely.
But storing it is the kicker.
Yeah.
You know, adding another 100 pounds of meat.
Right.
I've only got so many freezers that,
Right.
yeah. So, but.
Thank you, man. Well, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. We
Yeah,
did
Clay, I
40
appreciate it.
minutes. That's
Oh, wow.
good.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, if there's any links or anything that they can reach you or
Yeah.
to buy your honey or anything at all,
Yeah.
just put that in the description.
Okay.
You guys hop on there, and thanks for listening.